The chairperson of the National Lotteries Commission, Barney Pikana, says ongoing investigations have uncovered compelling evidence of graft at the institution. Just yesterday, the Special Investigation Unit told Parliament that it's close to concluding its 3-year investigation against those accused of looting the NLC. Prominent figures such as actor Terry Pheto and musician Arthur Mafokate have been implicated in the graft.
We are very appreciative of the work of the SIU. It's a kind of professional work that the NLC on its own would never have done. We can now see the extent of the rot in the NLC in the last I don't know, so many years, maybe 10 years or so, and we are very embarrassed as the National Lotteries Commission.
Let's discuss this further. We're joined by Executive Director at Corruption Watch, Karam Singh. A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time. The SIU completing 90% of the second phase of its 3-phase investigation. What's your immediate reaction?
Thank you so much for having me on the program. The immediate reaction is that, this is a long time coming. These allegations around wide-scale looting, fraud and corruption at national lotteries have been in circulation for over a decade, and if it wasn't for the courageous work of investigative journalists in exposing this, we would have never gotten this far in terms of the SIU proclamation of 2020. So, the SIU has to be congratulated for how they've been able to take this investigation forward over the last few years. We're talking about, over R1 billion under investigation, monies that are now being frozen in terms of civil recovery efforts, and matters which have been referred to the NPA for criminal prosecution. So it's a significant investigation. It was a significant report yesterday from the head of the SIU to Parliament, and I think we can be somewhat encouraged that things will improve and there'll be accountability for the corruption at the national lotteries.
With these tremendous strides that have been made, what does this reveal about the SIU's strategic intervention throughout the course of the period?
The SIU is one of the critical anti-corruption agencies available to the state. They're a creature of statute, which means that they're a statutory body, and they can only get involved in investigations with a presidential proclamation. So they don't have the same kind of independence or remit that one would expect from a dedicated, independent anti-corruption agency. But, the SIU executes their mandate with, as the current chairperson said, with a high degree of professionalism. They're an elite forensic body, and it's important that they're able to, continue to flourish and to provide this service to the state. Because we're in a difficult time when it comes to the fight against corruption, and we can't always be confident that law enforcement is capacitated in the way that we would want them to be. But it seems that the SIU does have significant capacity, and we've seen significant strides in their investigations, whether it be at national lotteries or at ESCOM and some of the other state-owned enterprises.
Yeah, prominent figures such as award-winning actress Terry Pheto, the likes of musician Arthur Mafokate, as well as fashion designer Tula Cindy, have all been found to have unduly benefited in several ways. What does this now tell us about the manner in which funding was accessible at the NLC and the beneficiaries of that funding?
It's clear that it was a kind of a cesspool. That it was a looting spree. We can focus on, some of these prominent persons who benefited, but you just need to look at the former CEO of the National Lotteries Commission, the former board members, who it's also been found benefited, their families benefited. We've seen these kind of money laundering schemes where money goes into one account and then it's dissipated into a number of other accounts. So it's incredibly disappointing, particularly when we think about the common person in the street that goes out and buys lottery tickets, and the kind of budget that the national lotteries have had over the years to support projects. It was absolutely the actual intention of what the National Lotteries Fund was meant to do was absolutely subverted by, effectively a cabal of powerful people and connected persons. And, it's a real slap in the face and an insult to South African society that the lotteries was hijacked in this way.
You mentioned accountability, that we now look to see what sort of repercussions these people will be dealt with. But what we have seen so far is either monies being given back or properties, assets being seized. Is that enough?
I mean, I don't think it can be enough in the context where, the allegations are, people were involved in organized criminal activity. Generally the type of those types of offenses require criminal prosecution, and we would expect people to go to prison for this. So the civil recovery shouldn't be underestimated. It's absolutely significant, and that money must now go back for its intended purposes. But in terms of actual consequences, we want to see people barred from receiving positions again in the public service, and we want to see actual prosecutions for the masterminds and the beneficiaries of these schemes.
This investigation in its totality is worth approximately 1.4 billion rand, which the state and the NLC have allegedly lost because of corruption at the organization. What sort of precedent do you think this case now sets for the SIU's work, the scope of its work, and the expectations?
I'm not sure that it sets a precedent. I mean, it's important that the SIU, that the forensic capacity that exists at the SIU is utilized appropriately to go after the big money. So the fact that the SIU has had a proclamation in this space and its dedicated capacity and resources to be able to do this investigation properly is significant. But the numbers across the public service, whether it be at state-owned enterprises, at some of the national departments, is quite staggering. And, we need to mobilize, harness the forensic capacity we have in the state to pursue the kinds of civil recoveries. But also going forward, we know there are some deficiencies within the SIU legislation, which is going to have to be addressed by the new parliament to ensure that the SIU is on the right course when it comes to pursuing these types of recoveries in a legal system which is absolutely watertight, and where there can't be any comebacks in terms of people trying to hold on to their stolen goods.
And insofar as the NPA Specialized Commercial Crime Unit is concerned, what does this now leave in terms of the scope of their work and what they need to grapple with as these discoveries have been made and the case is now at 90%?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the criminal matters, one would expect to see, the police finalizing these investigations so that they're ready for prosecution. We have the ID now within the NPA, which is established to deal with big corruption cases, and the model is a prosecution-led investigation, so that by the time these cases are enrolled in court, that the chain of evidence is preserved, and we can ensure, the potential for successful prosecution. So it's all to do now. The SIU have taken the investigation. They still have a third phase. They need to finish the second phase and finish the third phase. But we would expect to see cooperation at the highest levels across the criminal justice system to pursue the kind of accountability we've been talking about.
Yeah. I mean, just veering off slightly, all of this happens on the back of President Cyril Ramaphosa's SONA address. I mean, his anti-corruption rhetoric being put to the test in Parliament as opposition parties lambasted him for failing in his firmness with his own cabinet. I mean, he's been challenged for not asking Deputy President Paul Mashatile to step down in light of a slew of corruption claims against him. Where does this now, what kind of predicament does this now place the president, especially as we consider that we are in an election year?
Well, I think that's the kicker. You know, we're going into the election season now. The president gave us a kind of an election type of speech as opposed to a head of state address at the SONA. And I think it's right for opposition, for the private sector, for civil society to put pressure to say, you know, what has been the track record on fighting corruption? You know, has the pace of change been significant enough? Have we really made ground on providing comprehensive support to whistleblowers? Have we fixed the public procurement system? Is it safe for people to come forward and blow the whistle against corruption under the current administration? And then, you know, the issue that you brought about around the inconsistencies in terms of the step-aside rule, the fact that they're implicated persons residing at high positions within the party and within government who've not been asked to step aside. And I think it's a real concern as we go into election season, and we're going to have to scrutinize the manifestos and the party lists very carefully, not just of the governing party, but of all of the political parties, to ensure that they're clean and that they're, you know, we're not going to be re-electing persons who have a cloud over their heads in terms of their previous conduct and, you know, allegations around corruption. So, yeah, it's a difficult moment. We'll be in a bit of a holding pattern, but I think this is going to have to be a key issue when it comes to elections and as we scrutinize the track record of the governing party.
Very well. Thank you so much for that. Executive Director at Corruption Watch, Karam Singh, speaking to the SIU's scope of work as well as reaction to the State of the Nation address insofar as corruption is concerned. Still